Okay, so let's look at a 10-year payout instead. So the factory was not lucrative after 1 year. Okay, what if we looked at it over 10 years? Would it kind of pay for itself by then? So let's say profit per ton is still the $39 per metric ton. Overhead is still, it stays fixed at that 2.27 million. We're going to times by 10 for overhead then if we're looking at 10 years. And the cost to build the plant was still that 53 million. And keeping going here, let's assume that all of our capacities remain constant throughout the year. So again, our capacity for 10 years with the extra plant is just going to be the 480,000 times 10. And without it, the 280,000 times 10. And let's also assume our demand remains constant. So we're just going to have our demands, basically all of them, just times by 10. Let's have a look and see what that looks like in Excel as well. Okay, so here we are. So remember before, our original demands were just the 100,000 through 500,000. So we're just going to take each of those and times by 10. Or if you will, just add a 0 at the end. So it's 100,000, or sorry, a million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, and 5 million. Sorry, take a 0 off of that for our demands. Okay, and then our capacity is just going to be the 280,000 times 10. Again, we're going to assume that we just have constant capacity each year. And so overall capacity over the 10 years is going to be 4.8 million metric tons of pellets that we can produce between the two plants if we have that new one. So let's have a look here at our payoff table and building this up. Okay, so we're still going to take the minimum call between our demand, now a million, with our capacity, which is 4.8 million. Lock that, times that by our profit per metric ton, which is still the $39. Minus from that several things. So if we are building a new plant, minus that 53 million, lock that reference. Minus also from it our production, our overhead costs, times that by 2 because we're going to have 2 plants, and then also times that by 10 because we're going to be running this for 10 years and looking at our numbers after 10 years here. And let's have a look. Okay, so here we are. So we definitely are starting to make money over the 10 years if we have the 2 plants instead of the 1. And let's look at not building that new plant. Okay, so same thing, another min call here. You're going to be getting used to those over time between our demand and our capacity, now at the 280 or 2.8 million if we don't produce the second plant or build it, times that by the $39 per metric ton produced. Minus from that, we don't need to minus the 53 million. We're not producing that new plant. We do need to minus the operation costs or the overhead costs for 1 plant, so just times that by 1 if you will, or don't bother, and then times that by 10 for the 10 years here. And then copy this formula down. And let's have a look here. Okay, so if we do not build the new plant, we are actually doing fairly well, pretty comparable to building the new plant. Okay, of course this isn't the whole story. They have decided to build a new plant. It does financially make sense, but with the numbers so far in our calculations from this payoff table, I would say don't bother building that new plant. The possible gains versus what we would have made otherwise, it's not worth it. So the reward versus the risk, if you will, the reward does not outweigh the risk in this scenario. We'll look further at these numbers and look at the different other calculations, the maxi-max, the maxi-min, the EMV, etc., in further videos.